Hi, welcome back to the Launch Point Leader Podcast. My name's Lori.
This is Beau.
And we're so excited to be back here another week to share with you a letter a listener has written in. If you or someone out there wants to write in with just a scenario that you're going through or something you just want to hear some advice on, we'd love to listen. You can write us in at advice@launchpointleader.com. And today our letter says, Dear Launchpoint, I've been a fan of your podcast for a while now, and I appreciate how you break down the realities of leadership in a way that feels honest and relatable. I have something I've been thinking about for a while, but never really talk about with others because I'm kind of afraid of their judgment. I'm having trouble navigating internal power dynamics and company politics. In my role, I'm often caught between managing the needs of my team and balancing the sometimes competing interests of other departments. It's a constant juggling act, and it feels like one wrong move can easily be misinterpreted. I know building strong relationships across the organization is important, but I often wonder, am I networking too much? There's a fear of being seen as playing politics when really I'm just trying to do what's best for the organization as a whole. At the same time, there are unspoken power struggles and hidden agendas that I can't always avoid. I find myself questioning how to navigate these dynamics without getting pulled into the mix. How do I protect my integrity while still being effective in driving results? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How do leaders find that balance? And how can we stay true to our values without letting the power dynamics undermine our leadership?
I just quit. Yeah, right. That's the easy answer. No, I think that is the political posturing is present in a company that is decent in size across the board. I think you're going to find it pretty much everywhere. I think the question is it healthy or is it unhealthy?
Yeah.
When I think about the idea of this political thing within companies, we've always called it playing the game to a degree, right? You're going to have to play the game to have influence within the company. That's not bad. And I think I would ask this reader or writer to kind of think about their mindset towards this.
Yeah.
And maybe even reframe it a little bit to go really, in my opinion, office politics has a negative connotation to it when really I think what it's about is the relationships and the influence that you have to build in order for your department or for the mission of the business to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily inherently negative. I think it's human nature, right? So if you think about, if you think about going into a board meeting or a budget meeting, right? And you're fighting for the budget for your department because for your department, everything on that budget, every project is just crazy important to you because that is what you feel like you need to do to help move the overall company forward. Well, if that's how you truly feel, so you got to realize so does everybody else.
Yeah.
And money is not infinite, nor is time. So you have to first realize just because a decision is made doesn't mean that they're choosing someone that is playing the game harder than you are. Maybe it does sometimes. But I think if you think about that board idea and going in asking for money, you've got to realize who the players are sitting around that table that are going to make that decision. How do they speak? What's important to them? So that you can then tailor and craft your presentation to pull out those keywords, to pull out those areas that you know is going to hit that person's heart and you know that's going to tug at that person's head and you know that it's going to really pull from this person's prior experience. I think some people could say that's politics. Mm-hmm. I think that's smart. That's being smart and it's using relationships and influence to help your department get what it needs to move the business forward. Now, I think some of the things that this reader or this listener has said is might be a little cause for concern, right? It's sometimes it gets in the way, it becomes unhealthy. And I get that. We're flawed people, so there's always is going to be this bent towards something going a direction that it shouldn't go. But as a leader, I would say from a politics standpoint, always lead with the mission. Be the leader that is unapologetically about the mission and that connects every project you have, everything you're trying to get done in the company, that connects it back to the mission that everybody at that company has said they are about. If you're unapologetically about the mission and everything drives, every project, everything you do drives from that mission, and you are a really great convincing communicator about it, I think politics has a hard time battling passion, because if it's passion for the purpose always wins unless it's a toxic environment. So I think purpose beats politics unless it's toxic.
I think that's really good because it is a very complicated issue, and especially it sounds like a complicated time in their leadership. You know, they mention they don't want to be seen as too strategic, but also sometimes they feel as if he's going against his true values or her true values. And I think that is the part that really stood out to me as kind of potentially a concern. And I think that what you said, though, is how this person decides if they are in the right position for them. Because you said you need to be unapologetically driven by the mission.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great check. Can you be? Are you so driven by the mission? Do you align with that? And is the company living out what they say their mission is doing? Because maybe you do find you align with the mission, but if you're in a situation where you feel like your values are being questioned and it's either the team you work with day to day or the big C company, right? Yeah. And that somehow feels like a large disconnect. That potentially seems like something to evaluate. And, you know, I would never encourage someone to like leave their job or do something like that. I think you've got to be very intentional with looking at something like that, but it is something to take a step back because you might be in a situation where maybe just being about the mission wouldn't resonate with people and you wouldn't be able to start making headway. And I think exactly what you said, passion is going to fuel the purpose over politics unless there's deep issues within the company.
Well put. And I think I would add to that the caveat of if your values are being having to be changed or stretched or questioned, the first thing I'd ask you to do is go back and look at your mindset and make sure that that's actually what's happening. I've had times in my career where I have been in incredible disagreement with some of the things that part of the company required or wanted to do because I felt like I'd proven myself.
Yeah.
Look at my track record. Why do I have to go do all of this stuff? Look at what I've done. And it's like, I had thoughts from time to time that this isn't who I am. Well, no, it is. This is just something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't violating who I was. So that would be my question though, is check your mindset. And then if it's really forcing you to go against who you are as a person, your deep held beliefs that guide you through your life, not just your career, and it's causing you to go against that, you need to run because you don't want to become something that that's just against who you are as a person. But be careful, like you said, be cautious. Make sure you truly evaluate if that's the case or not, or if you're just tired of doing what you might perceive as extra work, that if you were the one in charge of it, you wouldn't make other people do. And then realize that there's probably a level of extra work that you're making people on your team do that you don't realize because you're not them, and just seems natural to you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely don't violate your principles just for profit or progress.
I think that's a great self-check on just making sure you're weighing that decision and looking at it objectively, because sometimes it sounds like when you're kind of deep in it and there's just a lot of scenarios, it can be hard to be objective when you're so deep in it. So I think that's a good measure to run yourself against. But I think the other point in here that I really want to dig into is about building genuine relationships. So much of work and business, you hear about networking and connections, and people talk about a lot wanting to have genuine connections and things like that. But how can you do that where you know you're truly being genuine while also supporting your team really well?
We live in a network hungry world right now. You looked at LinkedIn and all the things with that, and then connection is important, but meaningful connection is the goal. Now, when it comes to office politics, though, and playing the game, I would just say I don't know that you're looking for a meaningful connection with every person that you come across, everything that you're networking with. You're looking for an end result, aren't you? I mean, you're looking for an end goal that will, in your mind, be moving the company forward towards its purpose. So I just wouldn't put the pressure on myself to build incredibly meaningful connections with everybody. I want to be genuinely me.
Yeah.
I want to be very polite and respectful, and I want to be engaging and self-aware, but every relationship that I build is not going to be a deep, meaningful one. And it doesn't mean that I'm fake.
Yeah.
It just means that that's part of doing life and doing business. You've got to interact with people that you might not really connect with, but you might need to have a relationship with, so that the purposes for why you do what you do can be carried out. That's not wrong. That's just life. That's having influence, and not necessarily intimacy in a relationship, but having influence with a relationship is really important. Then go deep with the ones that you can develop that.
That's a great perspective shift of letting go of that pressure to make every interaction deep and in depth, not confusing being genuine and being yourself and authentic in the workplace with, oh, I need to be best friends and have close personal relationships with these people.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that it's a bad connection or you're not great for both people. But I think it also makes your relationships you do build all the more important, like the people you do go more in depth with. I think it makes that.
It does. And I think on the flip side, if you're feeling torn, like, are you playing the game too much? What does your team think? Well, if you're spending a lot of time over here trying to, quote, play this game and build network and relationships that will ultimately help your team, then you need to be spending that amount of time with the people on your team, building relationships and networking with them so that they can feel in the fold as well. And I would just encourage you to not tell them the story that's like, oh, I got to go do this, right? That doesn't help them. Yeah. It's like, man, I got to go do this today. And, I got to really talk about, I got to talk about our team and all the exciting things we're working on. And you know what? Even though they decided that wasn't the route they wanted to support in this quarter, that's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything bad for us. It just means we got the opportunity to be heard. There were other things and priorities that were ahead of this one. And it's like, we're going to keep being excellent.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep showing up to that arena so that I can make sure that everybody understands what you're doing and the work that you're doing and how it's pursuing the purpose of the company, the overall vision. So just make sure you're communicating that way downline as well.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I want to go back and highlight just at the end here what you said at the beginning. I think really boils down to all of it is unapologetically driving towards the mission of your company and your personal mission as well. I think that really sums it all up really well.
It is so hard to argue with somebody that is incredibly clear that they are about the purpose, on purpose every single time. It's like, I might not agree with the decision you make, but man, I can't disagree with why you made it and that whole heartfelt purpose behind it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, political pressures, thank you so much for writing in. I think this is a really nuanced topic and there's lots to be said about it. And it's something that a lot of people face to different degrees throughout their leadership journey, no matter what kind of industry that you're in. I think we all face something like this. So I appreciate you writing in. If anyone else out there has a similar issue that they're going through or something else totally separate that they want us to give some insight on, please write us in at advice@launchpointleader.com.
That's it.
And we would love to hear from you.
The whole .com is a new thing.
.com. I wanted to add podcast in there. It's too much. We're keeping it easy for you. Advice@launchpointleader.com.
Just type in Launch Point Leader. And
that's right. Go straight to our website.
Figure it out.
You'll find
You're smart
us.
enough.
We're there.
Yeah, we're there.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Have a good one.